So we've been talking about bronze servants since before the Summer 3 event came around, and then we've been talking a little bit about them after Summer 3 dropped, and I've kind of like went back and looked at it. I was like, it'd be really fun doing a tier list for the low rarity servants and, plus Ongremini, because look, I know he's got a black border, but he's basically a low rarity servant. Let's just throw him in there with all these other guys. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. If you enjoy FGO content, I upload these videos every single day, and all I ask for in return is a like on the video and a subscribe to the channel. But if you're feeling extra feisty and you want to go that extra mile in showing your support, you can click that join button and become a channel member. Now, with that being said, this is going to be quite the undertaking. I really hope I don't have like Hanako coming after me, because everybody knows he's like the free-to-play king. So hopefully he doesn't come flame me for this. And I say a tier list, but in the way that, like, this is made, like, obviously, like, as you see, the people on the top, they're probably going to be better than the ones on the bottom. But I think all of these servants could be usable. Like, even the ones that you see in, like, Please Buff, I think a lot of those servants, they have, like, a good niche that they could get into if they receive, like, 1 or 2 buffs. So, with that being said, let's start with Ongremini, who, on that note of being, like, hopeful and, I think they can all be saved, dude, Ongremini, I don't know if this dude has any redemption. Like, I don't know if they can bring this guy back, because, dude, I just don't know. Like, this is, like, not a bad effect, right? But what are they going to slap on it? Because, we could go over his skills and be like, this is not bad, this isn't bad, oh, okay, this is pretty nice. Keep in mind, to get this third skill, you need to get him Bond 10, which not a lot of people know about, because, not a lot of people have Ongremini, because he's really hard to get, but he's kind of just neutered by the fact that he has this really weird NP that is, like, super hard to use. Basically, what you're supposed to do is, like, use the NP, you sit there for a turn, you take damage, and then you, like, reflect it back on them, but you're not, like, doing big damage back, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I've really ever seen Ongremini hit for, like, normal NP numbers. Like, I don't really ever see him hit all that hard. Like, if they buff his NP and they make this, like, significant, like, God, could you imagine if, like, they buff the NP and they're like, it starts off at, like 10 times, bro, and it goes up to, like, 20 times an NP, like, damage multiplier? Because you gotta remember, like, you're like, what? Like, 20 times damage? But it's so hard to get 1 copy of Ongremini, let alone NP5. Like, you have whales in the game that might not have even sniffed their first copy of this dude. And he has this, like, weird mechanic, right? Like, he's this weird damage multiplying mechanic. They tried to help him out because they gave him a guts, because a common thing that would happen is you would set up your Ongremini to take some damage and get, and reflect it back, and then he would die, and it really didn't work out very well. You're like, all right, Ongremini, you're going to reflect some damage, you're going to do good, and then he just folds in like a lawn chair. He just dies. So he's really, really bad, right? You can use him for some, niche challenge quests because of the fact that he does, like, set damage back. Like, because, like, normal servants, like, they have, like, you can calc, they're going to do, like, 53k with their NP. Ongremini's, like, reflecting true damage back to them. So if you're fighting, like, that tough boss from, like, that Siegfried boss from Nerofest, who has, like, really high defense, well, Ongremini can kind of get around that because he does true damage, quote unquote, which is, like, bypassing the defense and everything. So there is some use, but right now, dude, they gave him a quick buff. It's a 200% quick buff, like, if that's the way you want to look at it on, turn 5. But, dude, what is he doing with that? Why is this not an arts buff? He's an arts. It would benefit so much. His arts cards would be good. Why not just make it a mad buster? Make it just an all cards buff, dude. Like, how about that, huh? So he's just not good. But Arash, that's a 5-star in disguise. I mean, I really shouldn't need to talk too much about Arash. The main things that you need, like, I don't know how you wouldn't know about Arash. It's skill 3 and this NP. You look at this. It's a 30% battery and look at extra damage. That's all you need to know. He does big. His overcharge is giving him like 200 to 800% extra damage. You don't get it on 1 because he already does massive damage. If you've used Arash, you already know that even at just 100%, he's already slaughtering everything in his path, right? But, like, you can get him to do extra damage. Have you ever put Arash as the second or third NP in a chain and watched him nuke them for like 400 billion damage? He's really good. This is like the premier first wave clearer in the game. Like, it can be anything. Dude, he's an archer, but he might as well be like a berserker or something, because he just blows everybody up. Type neutral, type disadvantage sometimes. Dude, if you have like a wave of like 20k-ish Lancers as wave 1, he'll still kill them. Like, he'll murk them. He'll destroy them. He doesn't care. He's stupid good. The amount of... And then he allows you to cycle through buffers too. So like, that ability, it's just so good. He does so much. Like, he hits really hard. He can cycle himself out. It's just super insane. I don't need to sing his praises anymore. Asterios, on the other hand, Asterios is good. I feel like he's a little bit downplayed. Most of the utility for me comes from the NP, where he's like just neutering the enemy's attack and defense. You know, as you can see, he's already baseline lowering it by 40% for a turn, and then he's, you know, slapping them with a 20% demerit for 6 turns. So on that first turn, they're taking no damage, and then they're also taking, you know, at least a 50% demerit for turn 1. So he's kind of like either a support, where he's kind of like suppressing the enemy as like a secondary guy, or B, you're going to be trying to do a lot of damage with his face cards, which, I mean, if you put like resources into him, by resources I mean like grails, foes, and all that stuff, you can get some decent mileage, because he's got a pretty big attack buff, you know, got a pretty big defensive buff. And I mean, I wish, because this is 30%, I really wish that lasted for 3 turns, but it can allow him to do some pretty good face card damage. He's almost kind of like, I guess what, Caligula happens to follow him. That's pretty funny, because I feel like Asterios is very solid, but like, Caligula just needs something, right? Like, Caligula's almost what Asterios, or Caligula wants to be Asterios, is what I'm trying to say. You know, because he has like the same want to be like this massive face card damage guy, right? But he just doesn't have the same, I don't know, utility. It doesn't bring the same heat to the team, right? And he's also packed with demerits as well, which is really annoying. You could maybe argue that like he's a bit better, right? Like, he's not as bad as I'm making him out to be, because I would say he's probably in the please buff territory, right? He needs to get rid of some of these demerits, because as a berserker, you can't be reducing what little defense you have for what little HP you already have. Like, that's not good. Like, the 30% attack buff to where you're probably just gonna guaranteed get one shot, you can't have that, dude. Imperial Privilege is very good, but I mean, unless you're pairing him with someone that's going to buff this, like you're bringing someone specifically to buff his buff success rate, or you're bringing that CE, you're like one of the CEs that buffs that success rate, you're going to whiff this, you know, almost half of the time, which is going to be really annoying. The HP recovery is nice, but if you're going to get one shot anyway, does it really matter? And then I think this is actually solid, because it's a fat buster buff on a 3-turn cooldown, so that's pretty good. The 500 damage to self, because of this, because he's probably just going to die in one shot anyway, probably really doesn't matter. This is actually a really solid skill for him. And then I like the way that they actually built his NP, right? They built his NP to kind of help him survive, because he's sealing skills, he's sealing, you know, enemy NPs, he's reducing their defense so he does more damage, and it's AoE, as you can see up here, right? Like, so this is a very good utility skill. It's also arts. I like assume they're doing that to try to help him loop, right? Like, so you can put an arts card in before or something. I don't know, but his NP gains aren't like super high. I don't really understand what they're trying to do. Like, slap a battery on this man. Like, let's just say we redo this one, right? Because we can't redo Imperial Privilege, because, you know, it's Imperial Privilege. I don't think they've ever buffed an Imperial Privilege skill. What is it going to be, like Super Imperial Privilege? I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them. They did use Caligula to make... Well, actually, that's a spoiler for Lost Belt 5, so I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say anything. Ignore that you heard that, all right? Any players, ignore what I just said. But if they just slap, like, I don't know, an 80% battery on this dude, I'd probably say he's, like, more mid, right? Like, be like, you could actually get some nice meme teams out of him. But right now, he just needs something. We need to, like, get rid of... We need to get rid of, like, this. Or maybe slap on, like, 50% battery and a 40% buff success rate for 1 turn. Maybe something like that would be pretty nice. He just needs a little bit of something, right, to kind of round him out. Blackbeard, I think, is pretty mid. He's just like, this is just a very usable servant. He's not like anything super exceptional. You know, you just look at him and you're like, this is kind of like just a basic AoE rider, right? He's just Very simple, very easy to use. Kind of like a baby Drake almost, except he has like infinite guts. Because where it's somewhere he can like stack his guts infinitely or something like that. What? Okay, I don't know if they're saying it here, but you can like stack the guts infinitely. There's some meme you can do with Blackbeard where you can give him like a billion different guts, right? And he can just go ham taro, you know. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is really just basic AoE Rider, right? Basic AoE Rider. Like Buster, drop some stars. I like that effect on, you know, Buster and Art's NPs because it allows them to kind of refund some stars that they can play around with. I mean, his hits aren't anything super. They're not that great. You know, there's not a whole lot, but he's just kind of basic. Has a little bit of survivability, right? He's just kind of mid, right? He actually, I might put him in please buff. He actually probably does need a buff. This I don't think was actually good enough. I don't think these are actually good enough to warrant him being even actually considered mid. The more that I think about it, because like maybe they give him a. I know I said this for Caligula, but maybe give him like a 30% battery. Give him some farming utility, because I think that's really the only place you're really going to use him. But the problem is that these buffs, this is going to give him a lot of like really good damage. Maybe buff that, give him a battery, it'll be significantly better. Let me X out Ong, remind you. But give him that and he'll be significantly better. Now, Eric Bloodaxe, I'm really tempted to put him in mid instead of please buff, because he has this really good like niche right now. Especially on NA, because he has like one of the fastest NPs in the game, and he's AoE, and his NP damage isn't atrocious. It's not the worst. He could do some wave clearing. I mean, you really don't care about these skills. Like you're really, again, he's a 2-star berserker. Like lowering their attack by 15% is not going to save you. Reducing their defense though is giving him more damage, and you know, I mean, if it was AoE, be significantly better for his damage, because then he could lower all of their defense for a wave and then clear a bit easier. But they kind of shafted him on that. The guts, I mean, you can help keep him alive, I suppose, but like, what challenge quests are you running where Eric Bloodaxe is the key? Like, dude, you are having some significant problem. Dude, for these two skills to matter, you would have to have like grailed your Eric Bloodaxe, dude, because he's gonna die in like one shot like 80% of the time, man. I guess that's why they gave him this. I guess that's why they were like, hey, let's give him some max HP, man. Let's help him out a little bit. But then he's also suckling his own HP away every time he pops his NP. So, look, he has one of the fastest NPs in the game, and, you know, he can do some good clearing, but, dog, he needs something, man. What would they give him? Dude, I have no idea. They want him to be like this survivability berserker. Just nix the HP. How about that? Let's start off with that. Buff his NP, make it stronger. Dude, I don't know. Drop him like 50% crit damage on, I don't know what skill. This skill. Give him 50% crit damage for 3 turns. NP drops him like 30 stars to play with. I don't know, man. That's he's gonna be really hard to save, dude. But I guess they might be able to do it. Now, George, I'm actually going to put as a 5-star in disguise, and this is probably going to be one of the only servants I talk about their Bond CE, because George has a very powerful wombo combo. He's actually one of the servants that, like, if you're a player that you haven't leveled up any of these servants, target the ones that are up here. The ones that are these, like, 5 stars in disguise and very solid. Those are the ones that you want to target, you know, because these are the ones that are really going to help you out a lot. And, you know, you might just know George is like, oh, he's the guy with the taunt, but, like, he has the 3-turn taunt. You might just be using that for solos, but if you break out all of his skills, dude, he could be a very, very powerful, like, taunt wall, because they gave him a guts. So he can survive those, like, 3 turns and just keep taunting on, you know? And then if he should manage to die, if you just look at his Bond CE, he gives the entire party a hit of invincibility and 1000 damage cut for 3 turns when he dies. He is he's built to really be a strong, like, thick boy, right? Like, he's really good as like a side servant in like challenge quests. His NP, unless you're pairing him with like Sigurd or Siegfried, you know, someone that gets extra damage against dragons, you know, he can get some extra utility in that, but that's, you know, it's a little niche. Doesn't do insanely good damage, but it's giving him more defense, you know. That's, in conjunction with that 20%, if he has this up, he's got an additional 60% defense, which is definitely not nothing. You can survive pretty well with the 2. Maybe they buff the 2k heal, maybe make it like 3k, but this is already 100%, dude. Like, this is a servant that they built to last. Like, because you look at some of the older servants, they get like 30% debuff resistance or like 33%. Maybe just have this apply to all levels of debuff resistance. But being mental, I mean, that's most of the main ones that he's going to care about. He really doesn't care about getting his attack lowered because he's not an offensive servant. He's here to, really help protect the party and give like that extra level of survivability. Having that guarantee where for 3 turns, if not more, that George has your back, that you're free to just set up for like 3 turns, and then that when he dies, he drops fat buffs on you. Like, that's insane. And while on Grimine, I was hating on him for, oh, you got to get him to bond 10 to get his 3rd skill, and it's not even like all that good. For George, you get him to bond 10, you're heavily rewarded for that. It's very good. You may disagree that I have him this high, right? But because I really love using George, and he's super helpful in harder, difficult content. But you got to at least admit that he's at least here, right? He's at least very solid, if not a 5. Like, I'll be nice, right? And I'll temper my my own bias, and I'll just put him in very solid. But he's very good. Hans, I'm not budging on though. Hans is definitely like an in disguise 5-star, right? He's basically a baby Merlin, right? Because look at what he's doing. He's giving the entire party 40% crit damage for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. So you're getting basically a waiver style crit buff to the entire party, right? For 3 turns, right? He can charge his own NP because he has 75% battery. And then this skill, he's getting 15 stars per turn and then refunding 10% NP. Now, you could put this on him to help, Hans, be like even more of a baby Merlin where he refunds the stars himself. Or if you think your Hans is going to die soon, slap this on your main DPS and they're getting extra NP and generating their own stars. Then you have his NP, which is where he's given like 20 at the bare minimum. He's giving 20% attack, defense, star gen, and HP. Not 20%, but 100. Or not even 100, 1000 HP regen to the entire party. This all lasts for 3 turns. He's a free NP5, so he should be starting at 80%. And then God forbid you slap on, because he has this like massive battery. God forbid you slap on a CE that gives him like 20% buff success rate, right? And he just has 100% buff success activation chance for the entire party. He guarantees all those buffs. Hans is really good, right? If you're like a newer player and you're like, man, I don't have Merlin, I don't have Scotty, I don't have Tamama, I don't have Waver, I don't have Reigns, I don't have any of these big boy support servants, Hans should be one of the first people you level. Because he is like just a very powerful support servant, right? In every shape and way, right? He gives you like everything that you would want from a support servant, right? He can charge his own NP. He's giving crit damage. He's giving attack, defense. The star gen is a buff. HP regen, could be more. If you can manage to get like to the 3k and all this stuff, that's basically an imperial privilege right there. But, giving, and then this is also really powerful that he can, slap on himself to help him get his NP back, every single turn because you want to get his NP, or slap it on someone else if you think Hans is going to die or they really need that, NP refund. Because really the stars, that doesn't matter who that's on, because everybody can utilize the stars. This is really what makes it, makes you think about where you want to target, right? So Hans is ridiculous. Hans is really, really good. Hassan of the Cursed Arm. This is another servant that I'm very biased towards, because when I was starting my NA account, this was my assassin for the longest time. And so I'm very high on this servant, right? Very high on this guy because he's been a very good star gen for me, right? He's been my assassin for a long time until, I started pulling like Cleo, the first Hassan, and Shuten Doji, and then I started using all these other assassins. But this guy will still be in my heart as like main assassin boy, because as a star gen, he's doing pretty good. He's got like drops 15 stars on turn 1, and then he gets 15 stars the next turn. That's on a 4-turn cooldown. So basically, he's getting like 15 stars every 2 turns, right? And then it's down for 2 turns, and then you get it for 2 more turns. And that's really good. Like, that's really solid. The ability to just, like, almost guarantee that you're going to get, like, 15 stars, you know, pretty much, like, for most of the battle. That's very solid as a star gen, right? You know, this I don't see as, like, the big deal, because I never really used him as a crit damage servant. I was always using him as, like, a star gen. But this is what I think is even more important, because not only does he have, like, the coup evasion skill, because notice, this doesn't wear off. It's just evasion for 3 attacks, not on a turn limit. So this could last you 3 turns, 4 turns, 10 turns, 20 turns is unlikely, but it could, right? It could last as long as you want. And then the additional 30% star generation, that's just going to help him be an even better star gen, right? Especially because remember, Assassin has the passive, like, crit star generation. His NP doesn't do, like, too much of, like, big damage. I think I've seen the insta-kill, like, once or twice. I've been lucky enough to see that, but, you know, maybe they buff that. I don't know what they would buff it with. I don't know, just give it Pierce Invincibility. I think that'd be really cool if they gave him that. Or if they want to be, like, they want to go the Heaven's Feel route, maybe just give it, like, Sure Hit or something. I think that would be a little bit better if you want to use him as a DPS, but just as a star gen, I think he's really good. I don't know if I want to put him in mid, because he really is, like, going to be functioning very well as, like, a good first star gen for a lot of players, but he's not really doing a whole lot outside of that, because I look at, like, Asterios and George, and, like, Asterios is going to work very well. Well, I don't know if I want Asterios on the same level as George. That I might change, but, because, yeah, okay, I'm going to leave them like that for now. maybe that makes me feel a little bit better about them being in mid. Like, don't mistake mid for them being bad, right? It just means that I think that they're, like, okay, right? They're not, like, super good must levels, right? I think I like this a lot more, because then it makes me feel like they're not actually, like, bad, right? But they're definitely good. But he's going to be a very good star gen. I think he really excels at that if you want to bring him for that. And I don't know, there's extra stars to go around. You could pop the skill and do some decent crits, but remember, he's a 2-star with kind of low attack, so you're not really going to be doing massive crits with him. But I mean, 50% ain't nothing, but again, low attack, so you'll get some mileage. Leonidas, another very solid servant. Dude, Leonidas is kind of crazy, and nobody really talks about it. You know, like, again, you probably know him as, like, oh, he's the guy that has the taunt for 1 turn, but this is basically like the Gareth skill, right? He's giving himself the taunt, then he gives himself 100% NP generation rate for 3 turns, so that's actually up for half the time that the cooldown is there. So basically, he gets touched, and he gens stupid dummy NP. I don't know if you know this, but you see this up here? Do you see this NP generation rate? That is insane, bro. And he's getting 100% buff to that NP level. So he gets touched, and he... Well, actually, that doesn't apply to that. That applies to this. Never mind. For everybody typing in the comments being like, no, you dummy, it doesn't apply. Okay, I caught myself. It applies to this, the defense. But still, he gens a lot of NP from getting touched. He has the same thing that George has, where he has the guts, so he can keep himself alive. And if you choose to use Leonidas as, like, a buffer servant, as someone who's, like, a side guy that can buff, he's almost like a more offensive version of George. Because look at this third skill. He's giving the entire party 25% buster buff for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. So it's almost like his charisma. 25%, you know, not a lot on its own, but assuming that you already have, like, a servant with the buster mana burst to someone, you're now buffing that up to, like, 75%. And that's, you know, starting to get to some really high numbers. It can kind of help you top off, you know, get some extra little bits of buster damage. But then look at this NP. This NP gives himself a 3-turn taunt. It's giving him defense so he can live, but this is what I love. You guys know this. It's a free NP5, and he's dropping 25 stars. So he's like a buster support star gen that draws everybody to himself. He tries to keep himself alive for as long as possible, and he can, like, spam his NP if he's getting hit. In fact, that was one of the strategies for Tristan when, not Lost Belt 6, but the Camelot Singularity came out. One of the strategies was to solo it with Leonidas, because you could stack your defense to insane levels. Like, you could get over 100% defense and he couldn't kill you. You know, like, you could just keep spamming your NP, or, like, your NP and everything, and he just couldn't kill you. And you just spam it every single turn. Or no, you'd get to, like, I don't know if he was to get to 90% defense and live, or you gave him a defensive CE, so then you'd have over 100%, because with the 3 turns you'd be at 90, and then you have the CE with the extra 20%, so you'd be over 100%. So you could basically just take 0 damage from everything. Let me know in the comments down below. I don't remember that one, but I remember it was a strategy. I didn't do it, because you know, I'm not a wuss. I just went in there and I beat him up. But Leonidas is very good. Please level Leonidas. He's very solid. I used him a lot in Nero Fest over the last couple of weeks when that was going around. Like, he's very good. He's like an offensive version of George. George is like tanky support for the party. Leonidas is offensive tanky support for the party. They're both very, very good. Then we have Benkei. There's not a lot that I have to say for Benkei. This is going to be like a please buff servant. He's not beyond redemption because he looks like he's a very good lockdown servant because you can seal skills and then you can okay, no, it's one of the other skills. It's this one, yeah, the NP sealing seal, because I know he can do both. He can lock down both. The taunt I don't really use whenever I pull Benkei out of the box every like 4,000 years. It never really comes up. If I'm using Benkei, it's to try to do like lockdown memes. He locks down skills, he locks down NP, and then he has the stun chance. Removing their buffs is very good as well. That can be very good as like a first NP. If you're using someone that doesn't have Pierce Invincibility, and you know, you want to get through like your enemies pop, like they have an invincibility up or they have a lot of defense up, you can pop this first, get the stun off, and then also yeet their buffs guaranteed. That's very good to be able to do that. The problem is they just need, I think, to buff these percentages. If they can get these to at least 100%, maybe even 120% to really just overemphasize that he's going to be guaranteed getting those off. And then maybe just slap additional effects on there to make him be a better support. I don't know, maybe he can buff the party's buff removal, right? Maybe he can give the party debuff immunity, stuff like that, to where he's just a really solid like support type servant. I think he's not beyond saving. His basis, his floor right now isn't bad. He's not beyond saving. They just need to buff some of this stuff up, and you can definitely save Benkei. Same thing for Mata Hari. Mata Hari is kind of like Benkei but with charming. If we look at her NP, you know, that's kind of her whole thing. Charming them. If you don't charm them, then, you know, you can at least reduce their attack and, you know, maybe not get obliterated. But I don't know, dude. Like, she just doesn't have a lot going for her. Like, 30% star gen for 3 turns. You know, like, I gave Hassan credit for that because he's also getting a really powerful dodge skill on top of that. And Hassan guaranteed has, like, the double star drop skill as well. This by itself, just 30% crit star generation, is not really impressive. You know, having the male charm is fine. Lowering their defense, this in and of itself isn't like terrible. You know, if you're, because you have to bring Mata Hari as a support because she doesn't really do any damage on her own. So this in conjunction with this, you know, you're getting at least a 40% reduction in the enemy's defense. That's a decent little bit of damage support. But I don't know, maybe they just slap at least she like make this like a star bomb or something, or like it buffs her star generation by like 50%. And then she generates like, I don't know, 10 extra stars a turn, or she buffs her quick card performance, I don't know, party quick performance. It's very hard for me to think of like what they would do. Oh, my bad. I forgot about this additional 20%. So you could actually get them down to 60% defense reduction, which ain't nothing, but you know, they need to do something to save her. Now, Mozart I'm going to put in very solid. He's a very good support caster. I know he's a 1-star, my bad. I always think he's a 2-star, but he's not bad, and that's really for the 1-2 punch of his skills. You're not really popping this NP. It's not terrible. Like reducing their attack and defense. You'll see that's kind of a that is a recurring theme for a lot of these low rarity servants. That they're trying to keep themselves alive by reducing the enemy's attack. They're like, please don't kill me, I have no HP. But it really doesn't do any damage. Actually, it doesn't do anything. For some reason, I thought it did do damage. Okay, I'm definitely on something. I thought it did do damage. I thought he actually attacked the enemy, but whatever. It's a support NP. He lowers their attack and defense. Whatever. He's a support. It's good. You're really using him for this and his 3rd skill, where he bombs 50 guaranteed stars. This is why you bring Mozart. If you have Poster Girl, you slap this on Mozart, you let him bomb the stars, you let him drop the 44% basically a party-wide arts mana burst, and you let him die. You yeet him out of there, or you just plug suit him to the back. This, I don't know. That's why he's crazy. That's why he's all the way up here. Because he just, as a pump and dump servant, it's crazy. Do you know, this is so powerful. 50 stars guarantees that everybody on that turn is critting, which is insane, dude. It is insane to be like, I guarantee crits for everyone this turn, right? On top of him also having this. It's stupid, right? So, if they want him to be in this 5-star in disguise, buff the NP a little bit. I don't know. Whatever, further reduce this. Dude, they can't have it start off at 40%. That's stupid good. Slap something else on there. I don't know. Reduce the party's arts resistance, maybe? Or reduce the enemy parties? My bad. If you reduced your party, that'd be complete. Can you imagine they buff someone like that and they give them a demerit when they buff them? It'd be crazy. But maybe something like that. Reduce their arts resistance. And I think that would really be good on that. Maybe have that be on this one. That'd be good as well. Slap it on there. Something like that. And they'd be even more insane. Paul Bunyan, also very solid. Where she's a 1-star, yeah, my bad. All over the place. But Paul Bunyan's very good. If you didn't grind the All the Statesman event, you're missing out. She has very powerful effects on all of her skills. Just very solid. She has one of the fastest NPs in the game. I mean, everything you're getting here is really good. She's giving everybody buster damage, crit damage, she's giving a heal, and then she's reducing all enemies' defense, which even if she doesn't hit all that hard because she's a 1-star, it's helping out your allies as well. And then, she has a really quick NP. Not a whole lot for me to say about her because that's really why you bring her along, to just step on people. Then we have Phantom. We have kind of just a basic good servant. And then we have this dude. Y'all remember year 1 players that this was the only AoE assassin in the game for the longest time? Yeah, it was really fun times, man. Really fun times. Really good. He's getting 9 stars a turn. He's reducing his own defense. That's not good because he's a 2-star with not a whole lot of HP. He's getting a 60 to 90% chance to charm an enemy, depending on if you decided to level up this skill. Removing their buffs is good. I guess that's a good effect. He's increasing his own debuff success rate so he can really get that charm off. His NP, piercing defense, reducing their debuff resistance by 50%. For 6 turns, Mid or please, but I don't know. I don't really care. I'll put him in here. He has some synergy. Dude, he still needs more, man. What am I thinking? He still needs more. But removing buffs is a very powerful skill. Pierce's defense, that's good. But where are you bringing this dude? Can he even clear the wave that he's fighting? He has sub 6k attack, and he's an assassin. Assassins have one of the lowest damage mods in the entire game. If you didn't know, each class has a damage mod when they attack. I believe Berserkers have one of the highest. So that's why, while they're super effective against everyone, that's also why they do so much damage. It's Assassins have one of the lowest. That's why it feels like Assassins always hit for PP damage, unless they're super buffed, someone like Kama, right? Or Jack with the female buff. Phantom's not gonna kill anybody, dude. He needs a buff. I was trying to be so nice. I was like, but this is good, and he's an AoE assassin, dude. No, in current era, buff this man, help him out. Jason's actually a 5-star in disguise. I just did a video on this guy. He's literally just baby Muramasa. You can actually just literally not pay attention to his skills at all. His skills are good, especially if you've been to any of the streams where we've been doing Argonaut memes. We were fighting Lost Belt 6 with Argonaut memes, and eventually get to use him to his full potential. This is very good. Removing the debuffs, that was actually very helpful in some of the harder fights. So I can say this is actually a very good skill on a very low cooldown. That's very nice. Being able to give an ally an evasion, very good as well. Actually increasing their star weight was very helpful, especially when you pair him with someone like Heracles, because this isn't, it's not a 5,000% star absorption, but 1,000 ain't nothing. And so giving this to someone like Heracles, who's on this 3rd skill buff, is pretty good. And then being able to give this super buff to the Argo characters, which, just to show again, these are not bad characters. You have really good characters that you will use. Dioscuri, Canis just got a buff and she's crazy. Heracles is really good. Atalanta and Atalanta Altar, I'm not the most impressed with, but I know people do like to use them. So, if you're using them with Jason, they get a massive buff. Paris, we just talked about. He's super, super good. Giving him extra buffs, very powerful. Jason's just very, very good. And he literally is just Shiro Muramasa in disguise, right? Because he's literally just doing the same thing of buffing his arts cards every single turn. and just making the, like, he's hitting harder every turn. He's buffing his NP gain every single turn, which Lord knows he needs it. But he's very good. Jason is very solid. You will definitely use him, especially when Castoria comes out, to loop like Lancer nodes, and he'll do a very good job at it. Paris, also crazy. Paris is definitely one of like the best bronze servants in the game. I, again, literally just did a video on Paris. Everything here is jacked up. Literally just a more updated Robin Hood, but instead of just slapping poison at the beginning, Paris removes buffs, and once he does that, he gets the big damage down here. Built-in Pierce Invincibility gives him just insane value as an offensive servant, because you can bring him to like any boss fight, and he'll always be able to get his NP off. You don't have to worry about, you know, the boss popping a dodge or popping an invincibility or anything, right? It really doesn't bother you. Having a battery gives him farming utility. I mean, this is just a little bit of extra damage. I mean, the real damage is coming from skill 1, but it's nice that he at least has this. The defense is to help him survive. This is to help him, you know, not get stunned or stopped by any enemies. You know, Paris is super, super good. Gareth, you're gonna notice there's a trend. A lot, you know. Let me just slap Chen Gong up there as well. You'll notice that a lot of these newer servants, like these are from the new batch, and they're stupid good. They're all really, really good. Like, they're just borderline. So, calling it 5-star in disguise might throw some people off now, because people like Gareth and Chen Gong aren't that good. Chen Gong's that good. You might be like, these two aren't that good, but they are very good. Just take them out and use them. They're really, really strong, right? Especially Gareth after this buff, where she's getting like the Star Bomb and the big dick crit damage for 3 turns. Very powerful. Has the Leonidas combination here. Not the Leonidas skill, but she has the combination where she has the taunt, and then she has, you know, this skill where she's going to get extra NP when she gets hit, but then she's actually, unlike Leonidas, going to get attack every time she gets hit. So, you know, if she gets attacked 3 times that turn, she's going to get a 60% attack buff, dude. And that's going to mean big mega cock damage. And also, look at that, Pierce Invincibility built into that, meaning Gareth can't be stopped. Gareth is super insane. Again, just did a video on her, don't really need to talk about her. Chen Gong, this dude changed the game. If I was a mad lad, I would make a separate tier, and it'd be called Chen Dinglenuts, because Chen Dinglenuts over here is a crack cocaine addict, okay? He is out of his mind. Someone at DW was not thinking straight when they built this guy. None of these skills matter, bro. These skills let him be a support, right? He has a taunt that's targetable. You know, it's basically Kiritsugu, the assassin. Kiritsugu's his skill, the scapegoat, lets him do that to people. He has Waver's skill. Then he has Merlin's hero creation, specifically tailored for berserkers, right? Stupid crazy. Really good. But this is the Chen Gong thing. Does this look familiar? Because that's Arash's overcharge effect. He does big, stupid damage, and you're like, hey man, but he sacrifices allies. That's actually good. You want him to be killing people because it lets you cycle through buffers, and it lets Chen Gong damn near farm anything in the game. He is stupid, bro. He's so dumb. And then he also, if you're going to use him as a support, he can cycle out supports. Like if you put Chen Gong in slot 3, and then you put like Lu Bu or Mori in slot 2, and then you just start cycling, you just start having Chen Gong kill buffers. You're like, Merlin comes in, drops it on him, and then, okay, I kill Merlin. Now Waver comes in, more buffers. All right, kill Waver. Now Reigns comes in. You just keep killing off people and sending people in for Chen Gong to keep giving buffs to the main attacker. It's stupid. He's too good. All right, Chen Gong is dumb, right? He's stupid good. I need you all to understand that. If you don't have this guy leveled up, you level him now. Chen Gong is disgusting, bro. Bartholomew is almost like more up-to-date Blackbeard, kind of, because like Blackbeard over here is like standard.jpg, you know, AoE writer. Bartholomew, he's more up-to-date. That's all I can say about him. Because he's got the same, he's got the Voyager of the Storm skill, right? He doesn't have the infinite weird guts meme, but you know, he's giving the entire party that 40% crit buff, you know, the same thing that you know, Hanzi Boy has over here. And he's actually lowering his own crit star absorption, which as a rider is really key, because it's basically allowing everybody else to do crit damage. As a rider, he already has massive star absorption. As you can see, he has base 200. Meaning he's going to absorb a lot of the stars, so this is supposed to let the other people in the party take advantage of the crit damage that he's giving them, which is very good. This is actually going to give him, you know, extra damage, on his NP, as he has a quick NP. He has the weird niche of doing extra damage to bronze rarity servants, which, that's everybody on this list. That's not counting Angermini. So it's 26 servants in the game, although he's a rider, so you're probably only going to be bringing him against like these berserkers and casters over here. So good luck with that. It's a massive attack buff. I mean, it's 150% at overcharge 1. It's not bad. If this procced first, he'd probably have a bit better damage, be more consistent for him. I mean, you can try to Scotty farm with him. He's got 65% NP charge per attack, 6/6 on the quick NP, so he's got high hits. You're probably going to need to give him some NP charge from like Asclepius or Paracelsus or something, but he's not bad. Like, he's definitely more midline. He's not quite this crazy. I might actually even bump you down because you're really just kind of standard.jpg. You kind of follow the same rule as these two. I think they're going to be there. These guys are just nuts. Corday, I'm going to put in solid. No, hey. No, you stay down there. All right. Corday, I'm going to put in solid. Because Corday, as we went over in her video about a week ago, she's a single target arts assassin. She has a lot of negging abilities. I think just the weird thing is that this third skill, this is just the one weird thing, because you really want this arts buff or this massive fat NP damage buff. And no, not that. I almost feel like getting this crit damage buff is almost an L, because most of her damage is going to be coming from her NP. And so you really want to get this because her natural attack isn't super high. But when you give her a 50% NP damage buff, I mean, you gas up a small attack buff. You do it enough and they'll do a lot of damage. And, I think one of the big main draws for her, why you would maybe want to bring her over like some of the other single target art assassins, is that like she has just the ability to neg everything, right? Like she's got the Pierce invincibility. If that's not up, she can take away dodges, Pierce's defense. It's like she's going to get a clean hit every time. And, as somebody that's been playing current JP, especially with this annoying, like, infinite defense stacking nonsense, being able to just bypass that and get a clean hit on the enemy is very crucial. And, I just have a real appreciation for that. Having the, like, kind of a pseudo coup dodge skill, granted it's on a turn, but I'm just always going to refer to it as, like, the coup dodge skill, because people know what I'm talking about. They kind of know it's similar. Just know that coup has, like, the infinite dodge. It can't run out. Having that is good survivability, so, she's very solid, the truest sense of the word. Same thing for Salome. I know people aren't too high on Salome, but she's not bad. Like I said in her video yesterday, I believe, she has she's very well built. This functions as a very good offensive skill. 20% attack and the massive buff against, like, so many servants. Like, just to show, for people that maybe didn't watch that video, normally when you have a buff like this, you're like, oh, it really sucks because I'm a saber and I can only hit these lancers. But she's a berserker. She can attack everybody on this list except for XX, because that's the only person that resists her damage. So she has access. Any of these servants, you see them, you can bring Salome and she'll do really good damage to them. She as an NP5, a free NP5, basically, because she's a friend point servant, will out damage the other, like, 5 stars at NP1. So she does really, really high damage. Like, she'll really lay the smackdown on them, right? And then, like, as a defensive skill, this is really good. She's getting, you can neg an NP with that, and then she has extra defense to try to keep her alive. Again, she kind of has the issue where she's a 2-star berserker. So, they gave her some thicky health. I actually never noticed that the attack and the HP are actually just one value apart. I never noticed that. This is the first time I'm actually noticing that. And people are probably gonna be like, man, this is dummy. But this is supposed to help her live. Debuff immunity is supposed to help her, like, not get stopped. And if this is, like, too much for you to deal with, or you don't think the fight is going to go on for 7 turns, you don't have to click this skill. If the fight is going to go on for more than 7 turns, I think it's more than worth it. Just make sure that you know that she's removing the rightmost buff from herself every single turn. Just make sure, as long as you're on top of that, and you know how to manage it, you shouldn't have any problems. But charging the entire party's NP gauge when you know the fight's going to be very long is very critical. It's very useful. Maybe if they just slapped a different effect on the NP, I don't know what they would do. Star bomb, I love it when characters can bomb stars for themselves to play with. If they do that, I'd really like that. Or, I don't know, maybe give her like an arts buff, like a 20-30% arts buff for a turn. It'd help her NP gen out a bit. It'd really help her like lay the smack on with some of these arts cards. I think that could also be really good, but she's very solid. Nobukatsu. Nobukatsu's an interesting servant because he's like Merlin, but for Nobu units in particular, and he cycles himself out, right? So if we just look at this, we'll look a little bit more at this because he's a bit of a newer servant on JP, so NA players might not know too much about him, but basically he wants to die, right? He wants to die, and he just gives these massive buffs to Nobu characters, right? One of them is like a massive crit damage. It's this one. Yeah, okay, it's this one. So he's giving like stars every turn, which is good. Then he's giving Nobu characters 80% crit damage, plus this party-wide 20%. So Nobu characters are getting 100% crit damage for 3 turns. That is the same level of crit damage that Merlin gives on his 3rd skill, but for 3 turns, and you can have 2 of these Nobukatsus. So you can have 200% crit damage and give them, like the one Nobu that you're buffing, 6,000% star weight. So they're damn near guaranteed to have them, right? You can lower the enemy's resistance to buster cards, which I believe every single Nobu character has a buster NP. I believe every single one. Like, let me just pull this up. I believe, like, yeah, you have a buster NP, yours is buster, and yours is buster, right? So that is 100% useful. That's extra damage to all of them. And then when he dies, he's giving her 20% NP and 20% buster performance. Oh, and then depending on your overcharge, a little bit extra, right? If you can get to overcharge 5, he gives her a buster mana burst for 3 turns, right? That's a little bit hard to do, but at the bare minimum, giving 30% to that Nobu, he's cracked. I don't know how to rank this guy. Do I just put him in very solid? Do I put him in cracked? I don't really know how to rank him because he makes the Nobu units stupid. Like, he makes them crazy. And if you have 2 of them, that's 30 stars a turn, by the way. Like, if you're someone that you were like, man, I really wish Demon King Nobunaga over here was just a little bit better, Nobukatsu's your answer. Because I don't know if you've tried to run this lady with Nobukatsu, but the one thing that I've always been saying that she needs on like this skill was crit damage, and he gives her 200% with double. It's a literal answer. Sorry, I'm stumbling. Answer to her prayers, dude. So I don't really know where to put him because he's crazy. As long as you're utilizing him with Nobunaga units, he's stupid. He's crazy. So with that being said, on that note, I'll just let you guys talk that on the comments. I don't know where you guys want that guy to be. Sanson, kind of stinky. Where? There he is. I was like, I thought he was a 2-star and I didn't see him at first. I was like, where the heck? Sanson kind of sucks. Kind of sucks. Evil alignment. Well, there's quite a few evil characters. This means lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil, any of these. He can hit any of them, but he is the problem, the reverse issue of Salome. So Salome, she was like, yeah, I can hit anybody, right? Because, I'm a berserker. He's an assassin. So his only use is against the Zerks and the Riders, which there's 1, 2, 3. There's 1, 2 again. There's 2 right there. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See that? Okay, there's a bit more. But you guys can kind of hit the point. He has this buff, and he's only hitting like 10, 12 people? Where are the Riders? Yeah, there's some Riders right there. I don't know, 12, 13 people? Maybe 14 with that guy? Not very many, right? Kind of sucks. I mean, it's nice that he has it, but not as big of a buff as you would think. It's nice that this is targetable. It's basically like Jason's skill, just a little better because it has a 3k instead of a 2k heal, and it's not lowering his own defense. So that's... Oh no, Jason's skill doesn't do that. That's on his dodge skill, but it's a little bit better than Jason's skill. I guess you can give him that. And then human enemies. This is the controversy. This is why he stinks. You'd think humans, you're like, servants are humans, right? And you're like, no, not. It's these people, like actual human beings. It's not. Humanoid and human traits are different. So this guy got shafted. Like, you gotta fight soldiers. Soldiers, bro. And a live Shi Huangdi, bro. Or, chin, whatever you want to call it. So it's not very good. I've seen some people, like, they really tried to make Sanson work. They've taken him to, like, they've graded him to 100. They try to really make him work. The best I can slap for this guy is mid. That's the best I can give him. Because, yeah, at least with the buffed NP, with this, he can get some decent damage if you can bring him to, like, an evil character that, like, he has type advantage on, right? If they want to buff him a little bit, either make that humanoid or just slap, like, a 30% attack buff for 3 turns on this as well. Just give him something a little bit extra. Either make it humanoid or make it human and humanoid. That'd be pretty interesting. You can just kill all humans, right? That'd be pretty cool. If you do that, he'll be crazy. He would be way better. Because then he would have... Where is he? He would have both of these proccing on those evil servants. And then it's like you bring Sanson and you murder the absolute hell out of all of those people. But right now, it's kind of like, this is really wasted. Right? It's not the best. Because, bringing Sanson to fight human enemies isn't like... There's not a whole lot of like, oh snap, we're fighting a human? We're fighting Knight Enforcer? He's too strong! Like, I'm just never like, oh man, Knight Enforcer, whatever will I do? Kojiro, okay. Y'all already know about Regend. Y'all already know about the boy. Do I really need to talk about Regend being good? He's insane. Somehow, this 1-star servant came out at the beginning of the game, and he just slaps everybody. He's just great. He's just crazy. I don't know. I don't know how they did it. Don't know how. Maybe it's because they give him insane skills. The evasion for 1 turn means he has good survivability. 40% crit damage isn't bad, but, I've critiqued servants with low, attack having, crit damage because they don't have high stats, so they can't really do the big Unga-Zunga crit. So, maybe we'll just scoot that under the rug. What about this? He can clear his own debuffs, and he lowers the enemy's resistance to quick cards by 10% for 3 turns every time he hits with a quick card. He has 4 quick cards. Nice. So he's just doing more damage every time he attacks with all of the cards that he has, basically, with the majority of his cards. Okay, nice. Oh, also, insane NP charge per attack. Let's also just not forget that. Oh, he's an assassin as well, so he fronts his own stars. Crazy. Oh, and extra stars? That's crazy. 15 stars on top of him already having the 25%. Oh, my bad. The, 29% star gen, because he's an assassin. My bad, I forgot. Silly me. And then this. More star gen? So he's just a star genning machine? You can't dodge this dude because he just pokes you through your dodge? And then if you happen to have supports with him, God forbid you put Scotty with him, so he has, redonkulous crit damage, so he can actually, it doesn't matter that he has low attack, because then he's gonna have, just 240% critical damage with his quick cards. But now he's just gonna suck those away from Scotty. Oh, and he has an NP as well? What does the NP do? Oh, it's giving him a quick performance, 20% quick buff for 3 turns. And then he's dropping 15 to 35 stars. So you're telling me this guy just throws stars all over the place, can do some decent crit damage by himself, but with Scotty, who's the premier quick support, he can do insane quick crit damage. His NP gain is high, so when he's doing all those crits, there's basically guaranteed crits all the time, especially with all the stars he's dropping and the insane star gen rate that he has, that he's just going to be looping with all of these cards? Okay. Yeah, Kojiro's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's a very, very good servant, okay? If you haven't leveled up Regend, go do it now. Pause the video. Well, don't pause the video because we're going to keep going. But go open up your FGO and level that dude up. He's good. This was kind of like basic Buster support before Merlin existed. Shakespeare's not bad. I'm going to put him in mid. It's kind of like, he doesn't have the same, craziness that Mozart has. I don't know, the 40% Buster performance for 1 turn, and then the 20% targetable gauge, not as crazy. So instead of dropping a guaranteed crit for the entire party, he's giving them 100% star gen, which isn't bad, because imagine you pair, you're some free-to-play player, you pair this with, your Emiya, your Iskandar, your Raikou. You're going to make them drop, 70 million stars, bro, in conjunction with the already high star gen that they already have. right? With the already massive star gen skill that they have with this, they're like guaranteed dropping 50 plus stars, right? The gauge is good. You know, the fact that he can keep himself around is pretty good, but I don't know if you want to keep him around. Because NP's kind of dog water. Why is it offensive? Why is he doing damage? You know? Like, I'll give Mozart some credit. I thought Mozart did damage on top of him, like, having the debuffs. But they went the right route with him. My bad. They went the right route of having him be a debuffer. Because, are you going to use him to, like, wave clear something? Are you going to use him to take care of trash mobs? Probably not. Not with that. And maybe you have to pop it with that skill. But are you really going to pop that so Shakespeare can take care of trash mobs? Probably not. Bad. Not quite as crazy. Not quite the same level of supports, alright? Nobukatsu might be limited, but he's crazy in that limited fashion. You're just basic good support. You could even bring like Mozart to some Buster Servant, right? Like if you get like if your first opening hand is like Buster Arts with that Buster Servant, that skill is going to be like his conjunction is basically going to be like have fun looping, right? Have fun guaranteeing your NP. So I'm going to give you a massive arts buff and a guaranteed crit on that arts card. So just go ahead and loop that NP real quick, or just get your NP right away turn 1. Insane. Spartacus. So Spartacus, if we're not without the memes, I'd probably put him in very solid, but because I didn't pull Arjuna Alter, I have to argue that he's basically baby Arjuna Alter. It's a stream reference. If you're not coming up to the streams, link down in the description, Twitch, come down. But without any memes, he's very good. You know, Spartacus is basically designed to like live pretty hard because he's like getting massive HP recovery, like 4,000 on overcharge 1, which, dude, he recovers 8,000. Dude, he doesn't even have 8,000 HP. Like, he's recovering more HP than he actually has. Like, that's how much of an insane, like, HP regeneration junkie this guy is, right? He's basically just designed to never die. And so it's like, oh, he revives with 1 HP. Well, it doesn't matter because he does anything and he gets HP back for it, right? It's crazy. But then he also, like, look, even his damage skill, they shoved a heal in there as well. They're just like, we just got to keep him living. Just keep him alive. So it's like, Spartacus, the only way he's going to die is if you catch him with his pants down, right? If you catch him without the guts, then you can kill him, right? Or if you just don't one-shot him. If you don't one-shot him, which 1-star Berserker, actually for a 1-star, pretty high HP, but, you know, if you got to one-shot him when his guts is in there, that's like the only way you're going to kill him, because otherwise he's just going to linger forever, because he's getting like 1,500 per turn. Every time this skill comes up, he's getting 2,000. Every time he pops his NP, he's getting 4,000 at bare minimum. And then as like a farmer, he's really good because he's got a 30% battery. He does decent damage. I know his attack is very low, but you can get solid wave clearing out of Spartacus. Very good for new players that they can just almost have like this core of like using Arash and Spartacus for like waves 1 and 2 for like basic farming. Granted, nodes might be a little hard for Spartacus to farm nowadays, but if you bring like some support or someone that can give him an extra attack alongside with like a wave 3 clear, you know, you can form a very solid core for farming, right? And that's kind of why, I mean, that's why I'd have him in very solid, but again, for the meme, I'm putting him up here. Spartacus is just very useful. Again, like this Hassan down here, he was somebody alongside, you know, with Arash and, you know, Kojiro, that these are like servants that I used very early on in my account. I would advise you new players to like look at this list and be like, these are servants that I should be leveling, right? This is kind of like a priority list, right? These are servants, definitely these ones, Spartacus as well, you know, for the meme, he's up there, but these are definitely the servants you should be leveling, right? Like, sure, like you might have some, no, get down there. These two might have a niche. Their niche is very good, and you can definitely use it, especially if you're a long-time player and you have that free Nobunaga, the archer one. Crazy. You have Berserker Nobunaga, forget about it, you're killing everything. If you summon for Avenger Nobu, which I know a lot of you guys did, Nobukatsu is going to make him go crazy. This, again, like I said, you can use with arts, you can use with buster cards, even like quick characters, right? As long as you can get that, like that arts card, one of those chains that Mozart's around in, he guarantees the crit and guarantees massive NP gen, right? It's really crazy. So this is like my bronze rarity tier list. I know we've been here for a fat minute, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know, I'd actually like ideas for future tier lists. I probably won't do like just 3 stars by themselves because there are a gafoogle amount of 3 stars in the game. But maybe like 3-star sabers or just like gold sabers, something like along those lines. Something like that where it's a bit more manageable, because this we've already been going for, I assume, like an hour or something. So, you know, give me suggestions, you know, and I'll definitely do it when we're in like kind of lull periods on FGO. But tomorrow, probably going to hit you with that Summer 4 event guide. So be looking forward to that. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. That is, unless, by the way, disclaimer, that is unless JP hits us with something crazy. The banner on JP, the Percival and Lolly Lancelot one is supposed to go away. So, you know, unless something crazy happens, Summer 4 event guide after this video. If not, I'll be talking about whatever's going on in JP. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go drink some coffee or tea or something for my throat. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace late, guys.